the symphonic band Lyrical Etude, it's really important to practice this with a metronome from the very beginning. Doesn't have to be as fast as 90. You can start a little bit slower because there's a lot of accidentals within this and some kind of tricky note connections. But the fact that we have a lot of 16th notes, 8th notes, quarter notes, dotted quarter notes, and we have a lot of ties, really important to make sure that we have a strong sense of subdivision. That way you're not cheating any of the longer note values. Practice this without grace notes at first, really super important, particularly in bar 11 where we have that syncopated rhythm. So practicing it without that so you can feel the, right, and getting that a bunch of times and getting into it. Then after you do that a lot, you can add in the grace note. So you need to make sure that you understand how the rhythm itself works before adding the ornaments on top of that. I would be careful in bar 14. You have that E flat on the second beat of the bar and then an F sharp immediately following it. I would use the pinky fingering for that F sharp. But I think one of the trickier parts of this etude is just making sure that you have a good idea of phrasing, where the line is going, where you're going to breathe, and so plan this out as much as you can ahead of time. Just because there's a breath mark on the page doesn't mean that's where you have to breathe. It just means that the phrase does not continue through that, and there should be a little bit of a lift in the line. But I do think that for several of those breath marks, they're good places to breathe as well. At the end, where we have this lovely high B flat going to the high A, just don't overblow. Just keep a very nice rounded embouchure and think about the airstream helping these notes to speak and not letting the embouchure get in the way of it too much. For the symphonic band technical etude, I think one of the biggest issues here is just consistency. It's difficult to be able to do all of this in one take kind of and be effective. So I think that when you're practicing, try not to only practice in like 2-bar chunks, but you can think about maybe practicing bar 1 and 2, but then practice bars 2 and 3 together, and practice bars 4 and 5 together, so that you're actually practicing the second bar of each line going through the first bar of the next line. It's very easy with the way that this is written to get segmented, and because it's 2-bar phrases, to get segmented into each 2-bar at a time, but then it can become very difficult to continue forwards and make it into a longer piece. When you get down into the lower register, just coming back towards the tip of the reed, thinking more open with your vowels, so singing more O into the bassoon, but kind of bringing the reed out of your mouth a little bit more is going to help. I don't think that those quarter notes and eighth notes there need to be super, super long, but you do want to make sure that there's a little bit of a contrast on the notes that don't have staccatos versus the notes that do have staccatos. So think about how your eighth note staccato length is different from your eighth note with an accent.